Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome inside the athletic fields here at Milford High School, as Milford TV is happy to bring you coverage of Scarlet Hawks athletics. This is Tim Coet on the call as we enter into a big week of rivalry matches across the Milford sports landscape here this week. And today we see a massive rivalry take the field here in varsity boys soccer as your Milford Scarlet Hawks play host to the Oliver Ames Tigers. And an outstanding rivalry is renewed here at the Milford turf. Two teams that have been the standard bearers for excellence in boys soccer in the Hockomock League for really the better part of the last decade. And once again, both of these teams in familiar spots in the standings. Oliver Ames leads the way in the Davenport division. They are in first place, unbeaten on the season with a 9-0-2 record overall. And your Milford Scarlet Hawks back at the top of the Kelly Rec standings after working out some kinks in the early stages of this year. They are riding a 6-match winning streak that has propelled them to the top of the Kelly Rec's division standings in a tie with the Franklin Panthers. Milford is 8-3-1 overall on the season. And so the two teams that have owned these two divisions in recent seasons, division leaders once again, and ready to meet as we get into the later stages of this regular season. So every win takes on critical importance. And for Milford, as we mentioned, they are currently in a tie atop the Kelly Rec's division standings with the Franklin Panthers. Now, Milford did beat Franklin head-to-head in their most recent matchup. That came back on October 7th, a low-scoring 2-1 victory. And so while the teams are tied in league points, it is Milford with the edge thanks to that head-to-head victory. With the Attleboro Bombardiers trailing right behind there, just a point back in the standings. And so it is jam-packed atop those Kelly Rec standings. Oliver Ames with a little bit more breathing room down in the Davenport. And so once again, we want to welcome in everyone who is joining us for our live streaming coverage of this varsity boys soccer action this afternoon. Everyone joining us on our YouTube live stream, whether you're tuning in as a fan of Milford or a fan of Oliver Ames, we're so happy to have you with us. And just moments away from getting this game started. This was originally slated as a 3:45 start time, but somewhere along the way they pushed it back to a 4 p.m. start and about to get underway just a little after 4 o'clock. And these teams could not have asked for better weather for this game here today. Starting to get into the middle days of the month of October. This is usually when the crisp, cool weather is upon us, but temperatures around 70 degrees with bright sunshine overhead as we get this game underway. And so it is Nick Ribeiro trying to settle things down over the middle as we get this game started. Milford sending this ball towards the middle of the field now. The Scarlet Hawks looking to attack from left to right across your screens here in first half action. Early whistle against Oliver Ames is going to allow Milford to advance this ball. Driven down the field by Lucas Ribeiro Nailon. We got a freshly updated roster for this Milford varsity team since our last coverage. We realized as the game went on last time that there were some personnel changes that were not reflected on the start of season roster, so happy to have accurate information for you as this game gets going. Oliver Ames now with speed up the far side. Milford able to clear that ball away. Rodrigo Lorenzo, a sophomore, in on that defensive play for the Scarlet Hawks. The head coach for the Oliver Ames Tigers is John Barata. Head coach for Milford, Antonio Pinto, and his staff eagerly watching these early minutes as these two teams settle in. A lot of offense from both of these squads, especially in recent games. Overall on the season, Milford now has scored an even 40 goals. That's through 12 games. Oliver Ames, through 11 games, has scored 42 goals. There is a bit of a discrepancy in the goals allowed this season. Milford has allowed a total of 19 goals through the year so far. Oliver Ames has allowed just 7 goals to their opponents through their first 11 games of the season. So this has been a stingy Tigers defense. Well, once again, drifting out of play over on the far side of the field. Just about 3 minutes into this first half action. The last head-to-head victory between these two teams went to Oliver Ames. They were able to defeat Milford in their lone matchup in the regular season last year. Prior to that, of course, was during the first COVID year in which we did not see MIAA playoffs, and instead, in an effort to create a playoff environment, the Hockomock League teams put together the first ever Hockomock Cup. And no surprise that these were the two teams that were there in the end in boys soccer, and Milford ended up edging out that game in Oliver Ames territory up at Oliver Ames High School to earn that Hawk Cup championship and finish off an unbeaten season for Milford back in 2020. And those were certainly two programs that, had there been normal MIAA playoffs, there would have been lofty expectations for what those two teams would have been able to do. Nate Dennis guiding this ball down the length of the field and out, and we'll send the toss back in. Nate back out in his normal spot on the field. Milford getting healthy now in net, with Lucas Fernandez back in action for this team. We mentioned that this is a week of rivalries playing out here. A terrific rivalry in boys soccer playing out today, and then 2 days from now we'll be back here on this turf field for a titanic Week 6 football matchup between Milford and King Philip, two unbeaten teams in the Hockomock League who have been battling for supremacy amongst the Division II schools for the last couple of years. Get to some more tidbits on that matchup as this broadcast goes on, but we'll keep the focus squarely on boys soccer here as we continue on through the early stages of this first half. Play staying around the middle of the field as these two teams feel each other out. Ribeiro using his good footwork, sending this ball up ahead towards John Borges. It's poked away. Oliver Ames with some very tight defense, as we would expect. And now driven back up the field, but out of play. That one sails over the Milford bench. Plenty of offense for these two schools in their recent meetings. Oliver Ames last week had back-to-back matches in which they reached the 8-goal mark, an 8-3 victory over Taunton, and then an 8-0 victory over Foxborough on the road. Milford, meanwhile, scored 9 goals in a lopsided victory over Stoughton back on October 3rd. That was also on the road. And all, as we mentioned, Milford riding a 6-match winning streak. They've collected points in 7 out of their last 8 games. Their last loss was that disappointing defeat by North Attleboro back on September 19th. That was a game we covered here on Milford TV. A lot of frustration as Milford had that game, let it slip in the late minutes. But it seemed as though a switch flipped after that loss, and this team has looked much more like the varsity boys soccer program we have come to know over the last decade. Kick here for Milford, just shy of midfield. Kawa Pereira driving that one to the edge of the box, just out of the reach of Arthur Tomei. Johnny Castro picking it up on the far side of the field. That one goes out of play. Castro has made his presence felt with this team in recent weeks. He was one of the goal scorers in Milford's 4-3 victory over Mansfield back a couple of weeks ago that we covered here on Milford TV, but unfortunately due to those roster changes that had not been reflected on our roster information, we incorrectly credited that goal to another player, so our apologies to Johnny Castro. Still in the opening 10 minutes. Ribeiro fighting along the far sideline as that ball once again goes out of play. That goal scored by Johnny Castro back on September 28th. That was his first goal of his first game on the varsity team. He was called up from the JV squad on that day, made the most of his varsity debut, scoring a goal, and has continued to be a factor in the offense for Milford since. Milford backed up here on their defensive side of the field. Ribeiro trying to clear that ball out, but Milford is going to be whistled. So a free kick coming up for the Tigers to be taken by Casey Milliken, a sophomore. Oliver Ames fans here at the Milford field for this one, getting amped up. And right now Coach Pinto barking out instructions from midfield as this free kick comes in and is blocked, and Milford able to clear it out. And now Milford trying to use some pace to get up the field here in transition, but that ball out a little too far in front. Scooped up by the Oliver Ames keeper, Drew Hall, who is also a sophomore. Oliver Ames waiting for a toss-in over on the far side of the field. Now 10 minutes deep into this match. The ball taking a roll down into the corner and out across the goal line. A goal kick coming up here for Fernandez. And again, you really have to give a lot of credit to Nate Dennis, who stepped up to provide some depth at the goalkeeper position for Milford over a several-week span due to the injury to Lucas Fernandez. Dennis did a terrific job, really stabilized things there, helped Milford go on this 6-match winning streak that they are currently on, and now this team getting healthier at this crucial stage of the season. Milford trying to center that ball up, but it's quickly cleared out by Oliver Ames, and you can see right now the OA defense has not really given Milford any quality looks towards net to this point in this first half. Just out of the reach of Kevin Barbosa. Tome is there at midfield, fighting for it, going through a couple of defenders, and now cleared out by Jake Williams. We did not have captains listed on our roster for Oliver Ames, but judging by the captain's chat with the officials prior to the game, we saw Jake Williams and Hector Bucio for Oliver Ames make their way to midfield. We'll get into some of the Hockomock League leading scorers in boys soccer coming into this week's action as the broadcast goes along as well. And as a quick spoiler alert, a lot of the names at the top of those scoring leaders in the Hockomock League are out on this field today. 6 of the top 10 scorers for boys soccer in the Hockomock League all belong to one of these two schools. Nice pass here over in the direction of Joey Carney. Couldn't quite settle down the footwork. That ball ends up out of play. Milford will toss it in deep on their defensive side of the field. Looping this ball ahead past the center line. Drifting now. Ribeiro trying to settle out of the reach of Mora. And now a big hop back towards Drew Hall. Ticking down to 27 minutes to play in this first half. Contact between Kevin Barbosa and Ryan Linares. A whistle going in Oliver Ames' favor, so another free kick here on the attacking side for OA. Redirected straight up in the air. Trying to settle it down is Andrew Martins. Now Milliken inside the box. He loses his footing. No whistle. Oliver Ames upset to not see a call. And now this one blasted in well up over the net and out of play. A lot of players in tight there as Milliken took that pass. It did not seem like any aggressive contact on Milford's side. Oliver Ames starting to create some chances here. As this ball will roll loose back to Hall. Big header from Dennis. Jumps right back into the play, pokes that ball out underneath the Oliver Ames bench. 25.5 minutes now to go in the first half. Play continuing to take place on the Oliver Ames offensive side of the field. Milford trying to get their offense jump started. Offsides call against Oliver Ames. Not a huge crowd so far here this afternoon from Milford, but certainly some vocal fans invested in this matchup. Good feed over towards Mora, now back onto the foot of Lorenzo. Foot race now. Mike McAdam, a senior for Oliver Ames, and now this ball off the hands of Fernandez, off the post, and then covered up by Fernandez. Or will they say that crossed the goal line? No, it will be a save for Fernandez, just barely. McAdams driving that ball, then the quick header to set up a quality look. And then some love from the post allowed Fernandez to cover that ball up before it crossed the goal line. And by far the best scoring chance so far of the game belongs to Oliver Ames, but it stays scoreless here as we head towards 23 minutes to go in the first half. Free kick now for Nick Ribeiro. Into a crowd and quickly cleared out by Oliver Ames. Mora now racing alongside Milliken up the far side. Milford able to win it back, but a whistle going against the Scarlet Hawks. Pushed back out by the Scarlet Hawks close to midfield. Now Ribeiro loses his footing, and that allows Oliver Ames now to settle things down. Hard deflection. Lorenzo getting into the middle of things once again. Now Dennis can't make that stop. Again, it's McAdam down into the corner. That ball rolls out of play. And you can hear from the sideline Coach Pinto wanting more energy out of his team. Feeling like some of the players out there are getting caught flat-footed. This Oliver Ames attack can come at you fast and furious. This ball taken by the senior Jake Williams. And again down deep. And good body control there. Excellent by Nylon, pushing this ball back down the length of the field. Hard work by John Castro. And now this ball won again by Oliver Ames. Sliding out deep is Fernandez, and he is able to grab hold and looks to be in some pain after the fact. He slid way out, had to reach back to secure that ball, and now looks to be favoring the back of his head as he is now back on his feet. A scramble at the edge of the box. We didn't have a chance to check in with Coach Pinto prior to the game, but as we continue to survey the field, one glaring absence out on the field right now is Milford's scoring leader on the season, Eduardo Santana. And right now in street clothes on the sideline, so clearly not going to be a factor in this game, and that is a big loss for the Scarlet Hawks offense. Eduardo Santana, second in the league in scoring coming into this week with 12 goals and 6 assists for a total of 18 points. He is second only to Oliver Ames' Casey Milliken, who comes in with 10 goals and 13 assists for 23 points on the season. So Santana, your goal scoring leader. Milliken, your overall points leader. But Santana out of the mix for this one today. On his feet on the sidelines, keeping up communication with his teammates. Yes, meanwhile, we have an Oliver Ames player shaken up along the far sideline. 18 minutes and 39 seconds now on the first half game clock. Goal kick coming up here for Drew Hall. Now Tomei using good footwork, advancing this ball down into the corner. Milford really has not been able to get anything going on their offensive side of the field yet today. That ball sneaks out of play. It will be a Milford toss-in. As Milford will bring Marcelo Alves D'Souza onto the field for a substitution, and Eduardo Santana was right there with him on the sideline before he checked into the game, so really doing a great job of supporting his teammates while he's not out there. Here's Ribeiro now in good position, sneaks that ball towards the far post, and it's directed away. Tomei had a chance in the corner, couldn't settle things down, and that ball blasted out of play along the far sideline. And so Ribeiro getting Milford's first look at Drew Hall in this first half. Milford controls here, now poked away. Dennis having to race back, being pursued by Mireille da Silva. And now Dennis blasts this ball down towards the near corner. Long run for John Borges. He's able to get there. Couldn't center it up, gets bumped off the ball. Ball goes out of play. And we will have our first corner kick opportunity of this half. Borges leaves it behind for Nick Ribeiro in the near corner. Low kick that is blocked back towards the near sideline. Ribeiro ranges out for it. Will dump it back in, has a player centering up, and heavy contact as Nailon came in like a heat-seeking missile trying to redirect that ball in. Nailon, the ball, and Drew Hall all getting to the same spot at the same time, and Hall is now shaken up. Able to make the stop, but definitely feeling the effects of that contact. He'll try to stretch out. The clock right now paused with 15:50 to go. Good hard-nosed play. This game taking on the feel of a playoff game while we're still here in the regular season. For the Scarlet Hawks after this game today, not a lot of games remaining on the schedule. 5 games left after this one this afternoon. 2 of those will be at home as this ball quickly makes its way upfield. And again, Dennis back has to send it out of play. A big game for this Milford boys soccer team on Friday as well, as they will take on a tough Attleboro squad that bested them earlier on in the season. As we mentioned before, just a couple of points back of first place. There's Borges now feeding D'Souza. Ball clogged up over the middle. Ribeiro now fights to keep possession for Milford. It's driven back across the midfield line. And now Mora has to chase this one down. Kevin Barboza will push forward onto the attacking side. Keeps that ball in along the far sideline, and now pushed back. Advanced further by Kawa Pereira. And now Arthur Tomei. He gets a shove from behind, and that gets the whistle. Down to 14 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in the first half. We are still scoreless. This ball loose to the near side. Oliver Ames the first one to it. Nick Ribeiro goes plunging out of play. Gets right back up to his feet. Milford now centering this ball up for Tomei right at the edge of the box, trying to protect. Trying to angle in towards net. That ball deflected off of Oliver Ames across the goal line, and we'll have another Milford corner kick. This time it is Rodrigo Lorenzo to make the kick. Sends it across just out of the reach of Kawa Pereira, trying to redirect with the header just above his reach, and now blasted far out of play. Just a little too much elevation on that ball. This goal kick will take us inside of 13 minutes to play in the half. Tomei winning the ball at midfield. Carrying along the far sideline, two defenders in close proximity. That ball gets pushed out off of Tomei. Jason Zales checking into the game now for the Tigers. Ready now for an Oliver Ames toss-in that's driven back by the header from Ribeiro. Kept alive along the far sideline. Now Ribeiro trying to feed John Borges. Borges, a quick shot that's popped high up on net and deflected out of play by the fingertips of Drew Hall. That was a nice quick connection between Ribeiro and Borges. Good speed for Borges. Was able to get an angle on net. Trying to use just the right geometry to pop that ball out of the reach of Drew Hall, but he was able to get the fingertips on it to deflect it over the crossbar and out of play. But now the third corner kick for Milford in this half. A lower line drive kick that's deflected out off of the Scarlet Hawks. And so a lot of early opportunities in the half for Oliver Ames. Milford has started to create some offensive looks here as the half has gone on, and two very evenly matched teams through the first 30 minutes of this game. And really two outstanding coaching staffs too, so such a terrific chess match. And you know, in a matchup like this, the emotions are riding high, but so far these teams have been able to keep the emotions in check. We've seen some good, hard play so far, but nothing that has crossed the line. A nice ball upfield now in the making here for the Scarlet Hawks. And Oliver Ames with contact on that ball. Looks like they will give the goal kick. It looked initially like that might have gone out off of an Oliver Ames foot. This will take us inside of the final 10 minutes of the half. Good ball sent along here by Joey Carney. Dennis again having to send it out. Good hard goal kick for Drew Hall, right on the money to Carney. His header carried it along in good position for OA, and now they'll have the toss in deep on their attacking side. No, it'll be a corner kick. What will the call ultimately be? Oliver Ames deciding on the personnel. It is indeed a toss. You can see right now the flag in that near corner blowing in. So this toss coming with the breeze. Looked like Fernandez might have pushed that ball back out. Oliver Ames will have a chance to reset. Driving this one in, and the header is through. Milford wanted the offsides call. They will not get it. The header from Casey Milliken, so the points leader on the season in the Hockomock League is able to give the visitors their first goal. Oliver Ames takes a 1-0 lead with 8:52 to go in the first half. So all coming off of the toss. Oliver Ames able to regroup, sending it back in deep. Milliken finishing off the chance, so beg your pardon, Casey Milliken with his 11th goal of the season. Eight minutes now to go in this half. The Scarlet Hawks, we'll see if they can come up with an answer here before we hit halftime. We're now trying to send this ball up along the far sideline. Tomei now trying to send it in towards net, but that is deflected out. Toss in for the Hawks, looking for Borges. Partially cleared out by Oliver Ames. Now they send it back across midfield. Pereira there for the Scarlet Hawks. Able to find Ribeiro. Ribeiro creates some space, slides this ball up ahead looking for Borges, but it's out of his reach. Now Mora eventually able to find Ribeiro, but cleared out again by Owe. Pereira steps it across the center line and now pushed back. Mora trying to hurdle over a couple of Oliver Ames players, but it's eventually won by Andrew Martins. Some good track and field action there for Andre Mora. Ribeiro having to send this one back to his defense. Tossin coming up here for the Tigers as we are all the way down to 5.5 minutes left in this first half. Oliver Ames striking first to take a 1-0 lead. Tossing here by Diego Rivera. And now Dennis with a chance to send it in. Goes the short route over to Lucas Ribeiro Nelon. Lorenzo back towards the center of the field where he finds Tomei. Tomei in a battle. And now lofted ahead. Knocked down by Owe, but right in the direction of Nick Ribeiro. Ribeiro can't settle it down. It's back to Lorenzo. He'll advance along the near sideline. And now Dennis across the center line. Quick pass to Ribeiro, who lofts it into the box. And a leap for Drew Hall to settle it down. Lorenzo had Borges screaming up the far sideline. Tried to send that instead across the middle, and Oliver Ames picks it off. Forced out of play by Barbosa. Oliver Ames showing a lot of poise and confidence here in the late stages of this first half. Oliver Ames has only had one game so far on the season where they have allowed more than one goal. That was in their 8-3 victory against Taunton, and you have to wonder, with 8 goals on the Oliver Ames side, if perhaps a couple of those Taunton goals were in garbage time late in a lopsided matchup. This Oliver Ames defense has held their opponents scoreless 6 times on the season. As Milford will check in on Drew Hall from deep. That ball sent in by Rodrigo Lorenzo. So really, the fact of the matter here for the Scarlet Hawks is they're going up against an incredibly stingy defense. They can't afford to fall any further behind in this game, and they need to find a way to break through on the scoreboard themselves as we quickly approach 2 minutes to play in this first half. Good footwork for Mora. Takes it as far as the center line, gives away to Tomei. Tomei backtracks to find Nick Ribeiro. That ball will roll across the field for Nate Dennis. Dennis loops it forward. Souza hanging tough there for a while. Under 2 minutes now. More fans continuing to show up around the stands here in Milford as we get deeper into this boys varsity soccer matchup. Another whistle going against the Scarlet Hawks. Hector Busio driving that ball ahead. Now Borges loses his footing. Lorenzo across the field for Tomei. Tries to guide that ball ahead, but pokes it out of play instead. Allows Oliver Ames to toss in on the far side as we are inside of the final moments of this first half. And there is the whistle. So this first half comes to a close with just 1 goal on the scoreboard, and it belongs to the Hockomock League scoring leader, Casey Milliken, scoring with just under 9 minutes to go in this first half on the header to give Oliver Ames a 1-0 lead. And so that is where we stand here at halftime. And so we will pause here on the live coverage for the 10-minute intermission. And so everyone who is joining us this afternoon on our live streaming coverage, hang tight for the next few minutes, and we should have an exciting second half on tap for you in this varsity boys soccer matchup between Milford and Oliver Ames. Again, OA with the 1-0 lead. Back with second half action when we return next here on Milford TV. Welcome back in. Time to get the second half started in this varsity boys soccer rivalry matchup between the Kelly Rex Division Milford Scarlet Hawks and the Davenport Division Oliver Ames Tigers, two first-place teams, but it is Oliver Ames who carries a 1-0 lead into the second half. Milford now looking to attack from right to left here as the second half begins. A goal from the Hockomock scoring leader, Casey Milliken, is the difference in this game. An athletic grab, meanwhile, from Milford keeper Lucas Fernandez. On an early check-in here in the second half. Tim Coet here on the call. Patrick Garapi manning the cameras for this afternoon's matchup. Goal in the late stages of the first half for Milliken with less than 10 minutes to go. And looking back on the events of that goal during halftime, you really have to give credit to Drew Hall, the Oliver Ames keeper, for putting things in motion for that goal. A terrific goal kick that was angled ahead past midfield. Milford had to push it out of play to prevent an easy look on net. And the ensuing toss-in was where that goal took place. A big leg for Drew Hall. He's been blasting kicks well past midfield throughout this game, helping to jumpstart this Oliver Ames attack. Meanwhile, a free kick here for OA. Sized up by the Milford defense. Tomei will carry it along. Again, Milford playing down a man just as we started to talk about Milford getting back to a healthier point as the season goes on, but missing their biggest offensive weapon in this critical matchup as Eduardo Santana is a spectator here this afternoon. He has been very active in his communication with his teammates on the sideline, but not out there on the field. So Milford without the services of their scoring leader. 12 goals this season so far out of Eduardo Santana. Notched a hat trick in that big lopsided victory Milford had over Stoughton last week. That whistle going against the Tigers. So we mentioned it, Casey Milliken and Eduardo Santana atop the Hockomock League leading scorers. Andrew Martins of Oliver Ames is right behind. He has 14 points on the season, 11 goals on 3 assists. Then it is Nick Ribeiro in 5th place in those scoring leaders with 4 goals and 8 assists for a total of 12 points. Arthur Tomei of Milford and Ryan Linares of Oliver Ames, the other 2 names within the top 10 in scoring. Tomei with 11 points on the season, 5 goals on 6 assists, and Linares 5 goals, 4 assists for a total of 9 points. But a lot more Tigers and Scarlet Hawks littered throughout those league leading scorers. The 2 top scoring offenses in the league, separated by just 2 goals. Oliver Ames with 42 goals scored coming into the game. Milford at 40, so it's now 43 goals overall on the season for OA with that Milliken goal in the first half. That is by far and away the top 2 offenses in the league. The next highest scoring total anywhere in the Hockomock League is Attleboro with 29 goals scored on the season. The question is, can Milford jumpstart their offense in this game? Not been able to get a lot generated against this very tough OA defense. This ball deflected down towards the corner board, just trying to find it. Turns around, trying to settle. Double team defensively, able to push a pass towards Ribeiro. And now Kevin Barboza will pick this ball up along the near sideline. Able to get around 1 defender. And now this pass back up along the sideline, cleared out quickly by Oliver Ames. In the direction of the goal scorer, Casey Milliken. And now OA directs this ball back to their own keeper. And that ball comes awkwardly off his foot, out of play. Milford with the toss in here on their attacking side. Just about 6 minutes into the second half action. Long toss for Tomei, but nobody home except Tigers. Mora couldn't settle that ball down, tries to get back into the play, but this ball looped onto the attacking side for the Tigers. More footing issues for Milford. Continues to be a source of conversation here on the Milford turf. Has not been as much of an issue that we have seen for the football teams. We've seen at times traction becomes a problem here for soccer. Settled down at midfield by Lorenzo. Good ball towards the corner. Borges trying to center it up, sends it on goal, but it's smothered by Drew Hall. Another strong goal kick, but this time Nick Ribeiro gets to it. Now deflected back, the defense in a scramble. Angled back now towards Nate Dennis. Pushes it up the far sideline for Borges. And now Mora loses his footing as he tries to deliver a pass. Contact at midfield. And Milford with a player shaken up. Ribeiro there trying to stretch out his teammate. believe that is Lorenzo who was in on that play. Now gets back to his feet. Tipping under 32 minutes to play in the second half. A lot of clutching and grabbing there, draws the whistle against Marcelo Alves de Souza. Pereira clearing that ball out with the header. Milford with a 6-game winning streak on the line here this afternoon. If they want to keep that streak going, they will need to notch a come-from-behind victory. Oliver Ames, meanwhile, has not lost a match this season. They had back-to-back ties back in the early days of the season on their second and third games. Ties against Stoughton and Needham. But since then, they have won their last 8 consecutive matches. Lorenzo, good footwork. Souza now. Regrouped by Kevin Barbosa. He finds Tomei. That ball could not be settled. Now Ribeiro will push back to his D. Barbosa has it taken away. Now Mora up ahead with it. Oliver Ames now pushes it up the near sideline. Nate Dennis for Milford. Mora, and now back on to Nick Ribeiro. Barbosa protects. Angles back to the midfield for Mora. Now on to John Borges. Good ball for De Souza, but it got a little out in front and quickly knocked away by Oliver Ames. More good defensive work for the Tigers. Pushing this one the length of the field to the Milford keeper. Rolls it out to his D. And a dangerous ball rolling towards the middle of the field. Ribeiro now getting some support by Rodrigo Lorenzo. Sent out of play off the foot of Ryan Linares of Oliver Ames. .28 minutes and 23 seconds remain on the second half clock. Oliver Ames lofts this ball forward. Barbosa intercepted by Craig Churchill for Oliver Ames. Oliver Ames last claimed a state championship back in 2015, the Division II state title that year. They were South Section champions in 2014, 2015, and 2017. Milford, of course, winning a sectional title back in 2019. Runners-up in the Division II state championship game that year as well. As this ball is stolen by Oliver Ames, a potential 2-on-1 here. It's Milliken again. The stop for Fernandez, an initial rebound, but he's able to cover it up. Casey Milliken vying for his second goal of the game, but he's stopped by an excellent save by Lucas Fernandez. And now contact. The whistle going against the Scarlet Hawks. It's amazing the consistency that these two programs have had throughout the last decade. You've got to go far back to find a year where one or both of these schools have not claimed a division title. It's been the last 5 straight years that at least one or both of these teams have won a division title. Oliver Ames won the Kelly Rex back in 2017. They won it again in 2019 before switching to the small school division, where they've claimed division titles in 2020 and 2021. Milford, in their final 2 years in the Davenport, in 2018 and 2019, they claimed division titles. They moved up to the Kelly Rex. They won the Kelly Rex in 2020. They did it again last year in 2021. And if the season were to end today, both of these teams would be division winners yet again, but still games to be played. Oliver Ames seems to have the Davenport division pretty well in hand. The Kelly Rex much more up for grabs, with 3 teams still in the running: Milford, Franklin, and Attleboro. Head-to-head matchups remaining between those schools in the closing days of the regular season. Toss in here for Oliver Ames is guided back towards the corner, and Kevin Barbosa, leaving nothing to chance, will blast it out. Trying to find a ball to send back into play here, as that last ball was sent clear off the field and rolling back towards the high school. Now the toss-in comes here for Oliver Ames. Rolling free towards Andre Mora, who sends it out past midfield and over towards the Oliver Ames coaching staff. Shadows have now crept out across the majority of the field as the sun starts to set off in the distance. Just about an hour of daylight remaining. What was just a picture-perfect afternoon here in Milford. Temperatures starting to get a little chillier now with the sun fading away, but we were up over the 70-degree mark when this game got started. And if you're planning to be present here at the field for Week 6 football action on Friday, don't think we have quite the same level of weather in store on Friday. A lot of rain coming through on Thursday and into the early part of Friday. Do think the rain should be done by the time we get to kickoff for Friday, but temperatures probably more around the low 50s or upper 40s by the time we get that football game underway. So it'll be some cool fall weather for football to close out this week. And again, just a fantastic matchup coming up on Friday between the Scarlet Hawks and the King Philip Warriors. Those two teams right where we expected them to be. 5-0 on the season, perfect in division play, and only one will remain unbeaten after business is attended to with that matchup on Friday. But meanwhile, a corner kick coming up here for the Scarlet Hawks about midway through the second half. The Scarlet Hawks looking for the equalizer. Directed towards the far sideline. Oliver Ames will send it up. Ball ends up out of play. Will be Oliver Ames' ball, so nothing developing off of the corner kick chance. Milford had 3 corners in the first half. Now 1 here in the second half. Lorenzo cross for Tome. He'll send it along from distance, but that one wide to the near post. We'll give you a little window into what our coverage is going to look like to wrap up this fall sports regular season in just a moment. Oliver Ames taking control here at midfield. A little bit of space. Milliken pushes down deep. Out comes Fernandez. He will slide out and make the stop. So 2 weeks left of the regular season after we wrap things up this week with that football matchup against King Philip. Next week we'll have 3 games for you. 2 of them will come in the Milford gym with girls volleyball action. We'll be with you on Monday, October 17th. The volleyball team taking on North Attleboro. Then again on Wednesday the 19th as the volleyball team hosts King Philip. And then we'll have our final regular season football game on Friday, October 21st as Milford takes on non-conference Barnstable. As this ball is pushed in towards net. Milford not happy with the positioning there of the defense on that free kick, but the objection goes nowhere. And so just to finish off that information, we will round out our regular season coverage with soccer action. We will have both of the boys and girls soccer senior nights live here on Milford TV. Both of those will be evening matchups, with the girls hosting Taunton on Monday, October 24th, and then the boys hosting Franklin. And that game may have major division repercussions on that final day of the regular season, that on Thursday, October 27th. Both of those games start at 6 o'clock, so they'll be played under the lights here on the turf. And now more contact. Whistle going against the Scarlet Hawks as Tome and Joey Carney came together. This game winds its way down to 18 minutes to play. Oliver Ames continuing to lead by a narrow 1-0 margin. That play will draw the whistle against the Scarlet Hawks, giving Oliver Ames a free kick deep on the attacking side. Sent out towards the top of the box, now into traffic. Ribeiro helping to guide that ball out. More physicality, another whistle going in Oliver Ames' favor, and you can see the frustration starting to rise for the Milford players out there on the field. Casey Milliken set up for the kick. Low line drive kick. Ribeiro was there. Milford quickly restarts the action. Hard one-on-one battle between Casey Milliken and Arthur Tomei. This ball will roll free. Chasing it down is Lucas Ribeiro and Elon, trying to find Nick Ribeiro. So as we keep sifting through the information from Milford's recent games, I think getting the explanation for the absence of Eduardo Santana from this game, as he ended up receiving a red card in what was a tough physical battle with Franklin back on October 7th. That was Milford's last game, that tight 2-1 victory for Milford. And so Santana receiving the red card, and as is typically the case, not in action for the following game after you are issued the red card. So that was a costly penalty for Milford to deal with. They were able to navigate the end of that Franklin game to eke out the victory. But without Santana services for this game either. That has certainly been a factor. Milliken with a free kick here that's angled down by the hand of Lucas Fernandez, sent back in off the side of the cage. We'll travel down inside of the final 14 minutes of this second half with the score unchanged. Oliver Ames 1, Milford nothing. Barbosa loses it. It's picked up by Andrew Martins. Cal Pereira settles things down for now for Milford, and meanwhile Linares lost his footing. Looked like he stuck that leg out. And that likely is what drew the whistle from the official. It was a late goal in the first half that gave Oliver Ames the lead. Does Milford have a goal in them late here in the second half? Milford holds a narrow 3-2 edge in the last 5 head-to-head meetings between these two schools. Oliver Ames did win their one regular season meeting last year. Then, of course, you have to go back to the 2020 Hawk Cup championship game where Milford edged out Oliver Ames by a 2-1 final score. Milford also earned a 3-2 victory head-to-head against Oliver Ames in 2019. Came through with a 5-0 victory in the lone regular season meeting in 2018, and then it was Oliver Ames who took their lone head-to-head contest 5-1 back in the 2017 season. So Again, even in recent head-to-head meetings. Pretty even play so far here today, but Oliver Ames leading by that 1-goal margin as we start to make our way towards the final stretch of the second half. Driven in deep, good deflection there by Pereira. And now Tome trying to thread this ball up ahead, but it is knocked away by Hector Bucio. Right to Silva losing his footing after contact. That will give the Tigers another free kick in a dangerous spot on the field. With a little more than 10 minutes remaining. Milliken lined up to take the kick. Sends it towards net. A diving play by Fernandez. That looked to be wide to the far post. Deflected out of play, and we'll have a corner kick now for Oliver Ames from the far corner. They'll send the kick out into open space. Now deflected well up over the net and out of play. Milford lined up for the goal kick, but it looks like we'll have a timeout. With the clock right now paused at 9:43, these teams will talk things over. Continues to be a very close contest between these two division leaders. It is a 1-0 lead for Oliver Ames on top of Milford. We will be back for these crucial late stages of this second half. But for now, we'll take the timeout along with the teams. Back with more in just a moment here on Milford TV. Resuming play out of the timeout. Just over 9.5 minutes remaining in this second half. It is still just a 1-goal lead for Oliver Ames. The Hawks scoring leader Casey Milliken giving his team the 1-0 lead they currently possess. Owe on the move, sending this ball in towards the Milford goal, and not the cleanest of plays there in deep for Kawa Pereira. He's eventually able to clear the ball out. But a toss in here for Oliver Ames, still on their attacking side. Up ahead towards John Borges now. Drifting back towards the middle of the field, out of the reach of Arthur Tome, and gathered back in by the Tigers. And that's going to be offsides. Step ahead for Mireille Da Silva. The Scarlet Hawks fans in attendance imploring Milford to put on a push here in these final minutes. Inside 8.5 minutes to go. The pass gets intercepted on the way towards Tome, and now dropped back onto the attacking side for the Tigers. Out of play at midfield. Oliver Ames will have the toss. The ball rolls free, picked up by Diego Rivera. In tight towards Milliken. Deflected away. Milford able to escape. Dumped right back in by the Tigers defense. Now on to Nate Dennis. Less than 7.5 minutes now on the game clock. Barrow allowing that ball to leak out in front. Picked off by the Tigers. And now Mora cramping up, able to get a pass away. And Tome couldn't save that ball from going out on the near sideline. Jackson Mercieri sending that ball back into play for the Tigers. He'll get it back here at midfield, out of play. Last touched by the Hawks. Milford trying to get this ball back on their attacking side, but Oliver Ames continues to play disciplined. Both defenses have really stepped up in the second half. Took a terrific feed. And a great header to sneak past Lucas Fernandez in the first half for the one and only goal of this game. Lorenzo now towards the center of the field. Quick pass to D'Souza. D'Souza getting some clutching and grabbing there. No whistle for that contact. Oliver Ames now sneaks it back up the far sideline. They'll keep it in play. And Fernandez now will track it down. This will take us inside the last 5.5 minutes. Short kick. Lorenzo steps up, settles it for Milford. Towards the near sideline. Tome keeping this one in play. Has two defenders right in front. Played back towards Ribeiro. And now under the 5-minute mark. They will pause the clock here for this stretch run. Milford again pinned back deep on their defensive side. Ribeiro now keeps this ball in play along the far sideline. Borges ends up leaving it behind and cleared right back out by the Oliver Ames defense. Pushed forward by Joey Carney. This will be blasted over the net and out of play. Substitution granted here for Oliver Ames. They'll send Ryan Linares out onto the field after getting a quick breather on the sideline. Andre Mora sending this ball up ahead, but too far for Tomei to settle down. It makes its way all the way to Drew Hall, who has not had a lot of work in front of him in this second half. Mora again will drop this ball back into the attacking side, but no one home for Milford. Another pass broken up. More time taken off the clock into the final minutes of the second half. Kevin Barbosa angles that ball out of play, and the Scarlet Hawks push back yet again onto their defensive side. Dumped ahead deep. This ball will angle back towards Nelon. Now on to Ribeiro. Now down the near sideline, Tomei in a foot race. Trying to get there. It's pushed out of play, and it'll be a goal kick for the Tigers. Good protection there by the Oliver Ames defense. Andre Mora with the header sends that ball out in front of his teammates on the Milford bench. We wait for the final whistle from down below. Not much time remaining here. McAdam will pop this ball straight up in the air. Pushed down by the header of Nate Dennis. John Borges will pick it up along the far sideline. And Borges hits the deck, gets the whistle. Can Milford create one last push here? Off the free kick, Ribeiro will take it. Through traffic, Oliver Ames is able to clear it out. Lorenzo and Mora there at midfield. And now cleared out, and Lucas Fernandez sends that one deep into the stands, narrowly missing the press box windows. Not often we get a ball this far up in the bleachers. A whistle going against the Scarlet Hawks here. Oliver Ames will have a chance to clear out with barely any time remaining. Bucio sends this ball out of play on the far sideline, and that will end up being the final play of the game. And so these teams duel to a scoreless second half. The defense is on full display, And so the lone goal in the first half by Oliver Ames' Casey Milliken ends up being the difference. And so a frustrating day for the Scarlet Hawks concludes with a 1-0 defeat, and that will bring an end to the 6-game winning streak for the Scarlet Hawks. As they fall here to Oliver Ames again by a final score of 1-0. You have to wonder what might have been different in this game had the Scarlet Hawks had their leading scorer at their disposal, but unfortunately that was not the case. And so with the loss, Milford will fall to 8-4-1 now on the season with their 6-match winning streak snapped, and Oliver Ames now enters double digits in victories, now 10-0-1 on the season. They remain unbeaten and remain a very dangerous team as they continue on through the backstretch of their regular season. So Milford will look to get back to their winning ways in their next matchup, and it will be another difficult opponent on tap here for Milford coming up on Friday, as they will play host to the Attleboro Bombardiers, as Milford will try to stay high up in those standings. Our next coverage here of Scarlet Hawks athletics on Milford TV will come your way this Friday night. Another big rivalry playing out on this Milford turf as the Scarlet Hawks football team play host to their rival King Philip in a rematch of last year's Division II state semifinal game. Who will come out on top in that game? We can't wait to find out. We will have that coverage live for you once again here on our YouTube page, with kickoff in that matchup happening at 7 p.m. We hope you will join us then. It should be a fantastic matchup between two excellent opponents here on the Milford football field. So that is when we will have your coverage next. In the meantime, that's going to wrap things up for this afternoon. A big thank you to Patrick Garapi helping out once again on the coverage, and I am Tim Coet. That final score one final time. Milford falls to the Oliver Ames Tigers by a final score of 1-0. This has been a presentation of Milford High School Athletics.